So this past weekend I competed at the No Gi Pans, ended up winning first, had a good performance. If you watched the video Monday, then you know this. I got a lot of questions from people after that video on Monday asking, Chewy, do you have these matches recorded? Do you have any breakdowns for us? Do you have something that we can see what you're doing? And so what I thought would be fun is to take 2 matches from that competition with the same opponent, so me against the same person, that had 2 completely different outcomes based upon the situations that happened. And I think that there's a lot of instructive stuff in these 2 matches. So this video will probably be longer, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in it if you stick around to watch it. So to kind of give you, before I jump into the video, to kind of give you an idea of where I'm coming from or where I was coming from into this match, it had been a year since I'd competed because I haven't competed since 2019 in November. I had dropped weight, so I'm usually at super heavy, and I dropped down to heavyweight, which I haven't been at that weight class in like 6 years or so. And I, was kind of nervous. It's been a little bit from, I'm always kind of anxious and nervous and excited to be there, but I was kind of like, shaking off that ring rust, and there was a lot of news going on. It's been the longest time I haven't competed since I was a kid, a teenager in high school, and it was a new weight class, sort of new, and so some different stuff going on. So jumping into this match, I was a little bit more anxious than normal, and I was going up against a pretty tough opponent. But let's jump into this first match. You'll see what happens. You'll see one of the things in one of the lessons that I want you to get from it, which I'll talk about at the end. But I'll see you on the other side of this video, and we'll talk more about the lessons in that match, and we'll get to the second match afterwards.
All right, so we're getting into it. Shake hands, all this stuff. I forget how skinny I look, man, like compared to how I normally am, just because I lost all that weight. I feel like I look so thin. So again, starting the lock up, filling the tie up. And what I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for double wrist control for that inside trip. So if any of you guys have my takedown series that I teach this inside of it, which is basically, it's one of my moves that I do. I get double wrist control, and I go for that inside tie. Now, once I got on top of him, I was trying to keep control, and I immediately started trying to pass. And he had a really good frame, and he had some good butterfly hooks, and he was very strong from the bottom, very sturdy. I had to drive down to make sure I kept him down because I didn't want to let him get up and start moving again. Now right here, you can barely see it. My girlfriend's recording, and so she's a little nervous right now. She's always like this when she records the first match. She's always a little bit more nervous. I'm controlling his top arm because if he's playing a knee shield here, playing a half guard, then he wants to get that underhook here, and he needs that underhook to be effective with his post or for his underhooks or anything like that. And so what I'm doing is I'm maintaining control of that top arm and keeping my distance back so that his knee shield's kind of in a weak position. Because with my body being further back, that knee shield really isn't too effective. And so just kind of maintain that strong wrist control to strong top arm control. Now I end up giving him a little bit too much space, as you'll see in just a second here. And he got up. And again, he's a strong dude. I believe he's a judo black belt. He's fought some MMA and stuff like that. So super, super tough guy. So now I'm back on the feet, and I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. I'm like, okay, well, I just got that first takedown really quick, within the first minute of the match. So, okay, I'm good, I'm up 2 points, and now I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to set up another takedown from here. Trying to get wrist control. He was onto my trick that second time. He adjusted super, super quickly. So I kept trying to set up that same takedown because, like, if it worked once, let's see if we can do it again. And he did a good job of defending it that time. He did not let me get it a second time. And again, that's a hard thing to do, being like that tactically aware when you're competing, to make the adjustment in the middle of the match where someone did something and you made that adjustment. That's a tough thing to do. So definitely a game competitor. Trying to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to get something going, pushing the pace. It's one thing I always try to do. I try to push the pace when I'm rolling with people because I want to try to, use my gas tank. My gas tank's usually pretty good, so I like to try to push the pace and see if I can wear people down a bit. And especially with this being my first match, I'm not going to just touching some stuff there. Because this is my first match, I'm not going to just immediately jump into a pull guard or anything like that. I'm up 2 points, so I want to try to maintain that lead. And usually the first match for me is always the most difficult of a competition. It's just kind of getting out of that first round where, afterwards it's just you're training and you're rolling, or not training, but you're rolling. But that first match is always the one where you're kind of like, you know, shaking things off. And especially after a year of not competing, I was definitely shaking off some cobwebs as far as my, you know, competition style role and the sort of getting rid of that ring rust, or I guess a mat rust, if you will. Shot in, got it, just could not finish it. And I'm glad I turned around, then he probably would have grabbed me from behind and slammed me. He launched the dude earlier, or later on in the day with a beautiful throw. So again, about, you know, a little past the halfway point here. And again, I'm feeling pretty confident. And he got a decent, he started going for a decent grip there on the leg. He got a good bite on that leg that time. Was able to defend. Now again, I feel pretty good here. I'm just kind of just trying to make sure that I'm keeping the pace up, trying to stay with dominant grips on the feet, and trying to see if I can get an in for a takedown. Now, you may have noticed just there, like I got a decent underhook there. But when I'm here, he's a judo guy, right? And so he let this leg lead a lot. And so when I got there, I did not like the feeling of trying to chase after him, so I broke off of it. Because I've been thrown before by judo guys doing that, like where I charge them with an underhook and they launch me. And I'm sure you've seen it happen plenty of times, so I didn't really want to do that. Just did not have it. I had a bad grip to start off with right here, because notice we get tangled up with my left hand here. It gets a little bit tangled up, like locked up on the fingers. I should have had, if I would have had a wrist, I would have been in better shape, not with the fingers there, because I couldn't get, like, he actually had my hand locked, so I couldn't get that second hand down. And so when we went down here, boom, we're outside of bounds, and that was that. So no bueno. But again, still feeling pretty good. We're down to, I think it's, what is it, right around 2 minutes? 1:30. Now something's going to happen here in just a second, because at this point I was feeling a little, I would say a little bit overconfident. I was like, I'm okay on the feet, you know, I'm good, that sort of thing. I didn't feel too threatened, and that almost cost me here in just a second. Right here. He had that single leg, and I was fighting for that whizzer, and I was bouncing. I'm like, oh, man, I can't give this thing up. Finally got that whizzer in, got the grip. So right here, if you notice what I'm doing, in case you're curious. So he picks up the leg. I'm fighting the grip here a little bit. I'm trying to get this leg out to the outside, but I couldn't. He was keeping a good bite with his leg. Drop down. And at this point, I'm trying to force the leg down, and then I'm getting my whizzer at this point. Right there. So once I get this whizzer in, this hand comes down to fight. And so what I'm doing at this point is I'm yanking up with the shoulder, and I'm using this hand to pull his wrist up. And that just weakens that grip there. And there we are. I was able to defend it. And, you know, intelligently he pulls guard and starts to work there. And at this point, I start to try to put a little pressure on. And I can tell that I'm a little rusty in this, because I almost always, for me, I try to pass to the right side, their left. And I kind of stuck here on the left. And then towards the end, I remember even thinking, I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to pass to the other side. And then I start trying to do that. And that is the first match of the day. Ended up winning that one 2-0.
You watch that match, again, it became a kind of a takedown battle at the end, trying to go back and forth. But the big thing that was really important that I would sort of give you to take away is to be first. And that inside trip that I hit, that move, literally, I was drilling that all week long. I drilled it leading up to the competition. When my students were watching it and, watching the matches, they were all telling me, Chewy, like that was the move that Chewy uses every day in class. That's the move that he was drilling with us, because whenever I get ready for a competition, I always, essentially the week of the competition, I drill my techniques and take my students through my game plan. And so I use that technique over and over and over again to show, and I've shown it to them. And so they're all like, that was the technique we worked on in class just this week, which is always kind of fun for me. I love hitting a good technique in competition and being able to show my students, hey, this works. But again, being first. So again, that's a really important thing, because when you're first with your techniques and with your moves, and you can score first, that's super important. Whether that's a guard pull to a sweep, whether that's a takedown, or even if you're going for a submission or whatever, being first is really important. So one of the things I would definitely encourage you guys is, again, it's tough. It's a mindset / drilling thing, but you definitely want to be first with your techniques, and you want to go after people as soon as the match starts. Now, after this match was over, I was tired. I was definitely a little bit more winded than I was expecting. I try to push the pace when I'm competing anyway, just because I usually have a pretty good gas tank, but I was definitely feeling it, and I was worried a little bit. I was thinking, man, why am I so winded? I felt like I was worried, because I felt like it was just all ring rust or something, and I was going into this next match with another tough opponent. But it ended up being fine. I ended up winning the next match, and really it was just the dude that I went against is a tough dude who gives up very few points when he competes. And again, it is what it is. Now, going into the next match with the same opponent, right? So I ended up winning the division. This is in the open division. Second round, quarterfinals of the open division, we go against each other. And as you're going to see, the match has a completely different outcome based upon a bit of a tactical blunder on my part, as you'll see in a minute. But going into the match, at this point in the day, I was loose. The open weight for me is it's fun. I don't really take it too seriously. If I win my division, it's usually just like, all right, let's go have some fun. A lot of times I'll try to break out some of my B game moves, or if I was doing takedowns all day long, sometimes I'll pull guard. I just play around a little bit just to have some fun. But let's jump into this match, and then I'll see you in the end of this one, and we'll kind of recap it.
The second match with the same opponent, and getting back into it, this is the open division, and I almost didn't do the open division that day, because I had actually head back home the same day back to Kentucky, so it was a long drive, and they were running behind about a little over an hour, and so I was getting ready to head out, and then they called in the division. So this is the second match of the open. So again, locking up with them and just kind of filling them out a little bit. At this point in the competition, I'm feeling super loose and having some fun. Again, as I said before, the open's just kind of it's fun for me. It's a little extra. And I was hoping him and I could maybe face each other later, like maybe if they would have put us on opposite ends of the bracket, but it did not work out that way, and we had our second match in the second round. Now that foot trip, he launched a dude just before me with that foot trip, so I was looking for that thing. He did a beautiful throw off of that thing just before me. Now, it was a decent attempt, didn't quite get a snag on it, but again, shot once. Went for a little high-level shot there, grabbing the leg. He defended, touched the head, but his arm was in the way here. So I could, a lot of times if I touch the head, you can get the person to come up and bring their hand up, but he was able to, he just kept his arm down, so it kind of got in my way between him and his leg. And again, he kept a good grip on my hand, so I could not get my hands joined together. Now here's where my tactical blunder happened. So here's what I was thinking, just to let you know. I told my girlfriend before the match, I said, okay, listen, I think I might pull guard on him if it doesn't work, just to play a different game, just because, again, that's what I do. I try to play around a little bit and use stuff. So I shot in, and it was to my understanding that if I pulled off of a shot, then it's not considered a takedown. But because he defended a little bit, they gave him the points. And that's kind of what it was explained to me. So, again, tactical blunder on my end. Won't make it again. I thought that because I initiated, I could just pull whenever. But because they said he defended, the takedown. So if you see in the beginning, right, where I shot, and I could have come up here. I was in a fine spot to come up, but I was like, let me go ahead and try to pull guard a little bit and try to play from the bottom. Because it happened in that manner, they gave him 2 for this. Now, I did not know that I was down 2 points. And notice he did a good job of fighting to my right, his right side, my left side. Luckily, I have some options on my left side. I'm not too weak there. I have options on both sides of my butterfly and half guard. So we break. At this point, I do not know that I'm 2 points down. I didn't realize that I was, so I still feel pretty good. I was like, went for it, wasn't there. We'll keep moving, go for something else. Try to go for that same inside trip, couldn't quite get it. He was ready for it. And I ended up getting a nice bruise on my shin from that thing, which I'm still feeling today. Notice this real quick, just to bring this to your attention, guys. Notice that I don't, when I'm present, I don't play on the outside of the ring like this, right? So again, if I was to take him down right here, I would lose. It would be a wasted effort. If you guys go back, there's a video. So I shot in, but once we get towards the yellow, I'm just going to walk back to the center because I want to keep the action here in the center, because this way, if I do a takedown or whatever, there's room to play. If I was to take him down or do anything out there, then I'm going to lose it and it's going to be for nothing. I actually have a match where I think I have a video on the channel called like my $1,500 mistake or something like that. And basically that was where I learned the lesson, because I took the dude down like 3 times and each time was out of bounds and the guy would just kind of skirt the edges. And so I didn't want to do that. Now right there, this is when I realized I was down 2. I was like, oh, I'm down 2. I was checking the time and I was like, well, snaps. Now I gotta make something happen. And this is kind of where the match turned a little bit. I don't want to say it like in a negative way, but I started just getting a little bit more desperate and at some point sloppy in the match. And so again, I could have probably played this a little bit better than what I did. And again, he's now in control of the match. He's up 2. And he's incredibly hard to take down. And so, again, it's one of those things where I'm going to try to pull a little bit. And I felt pretty good for my guard. But whenever I would come up, he would get away from those options there. And what I probably should have done is just kind of sat down and made him engage and made the ref make him engage. But me being kind of bullheaded and just wanting to go forward, I started going. So it was strategically was not the smartest way to go about the match at this point. Got the leg. Just could not get that sucker up off the ground. Having trouble with that.
2.5 minutes, Chewy. 2.5 minutes. Go, 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 go. Finish it. Finish it. Sweet.
He was so slippery. I could not hang on to his legs. And there were some decent shots and stuff like that. I just could not finish him. Good. Some stuff to work on. I'm going to be talking with one of the guys in here who's I would consider him kind of like my wrestling coach at this point. From over the years, he's really helped up my takedowns. I'll have him adjust my finishes and things like that. I probably could have gotten around to the back instead of trying to run with that single leg takedown. So again, going here, we're at the under 2 minute point, and I think I was shooting for some like lazy guillotine there. It wasn't going to happen. Going underneath. Trying to get that underhook there so I could just kind of keep him a little tighter and maybe shoot something, but he was doing a good job of keeping his hips back. And then, again, we're too far of the yellow, so they moves back. 1:30 left. And again, at this point, I know, he's going to keep his distance. He's going to play smart. If he sees something, he'll go for it for sure. But against both of us are hard pressed to really get anything going. So I was just trying to grab him and pull him into it. I got my half guard, and then he just pulled right out of there. Just could not get the grip that I needed to finish that. I will say that I felt pretty quick at the weight that I competed. I felt pretty quick. Felt smooth. My body felt real mobile, so I like that part. Down to less than a minute. So I know I've probably got maybe one good solid attempt left to get something going. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm like, I need to set something up, and I've got probably one, maybe two solid attempts, and that's going to be it for the match. And again, I got a good one. I just couldn't. Keeping him down is tough. It's just one of those things where just couldn't do it. Didn't do it that day. So shot in, got the leg, took him down this time, and he immediately bounced up. Did a good job. I got an advantage for it. But, almost doesn't count when there's points on the board. 30 seconds. Sloppy guard pull. I was just like, I'm going to try to play something. Shooting for my single X. I had a bite on his leg, got away from me. And at this point, I look at the clock and I see that it's like 10 seconds. I'm like, I'm not getting anything. It's just not happening at this point. I look back, I was like, 2 seconds, we're done. I'm like, we're not going anymore. And it was a tough match, man. It is what it is. Dude was super cool. We had a blast competing against one another, 1-1. Tough competitor. Learned a lot. Definitely need to work on some things in my game, but that was the match against the same person. Obviously, completely different results, but I figured that'd be interesting for you guys to see.
You watch that match. Obviously, I made a bit of a blunder. I sort of assumed that if I shot in, which is usually the case, if you shoot in and you could go for the leg, but then you pull guard, that's usually not points. But for whatever reason it was, I won't make that mistake again. I'll make sure to just make my takedowns, and then pull guard, and not sort of mix them together. But again, it was a fun match, and I ended up losing. No big deal. It is what it is. I congratulated him just like he congratulated me. One thing I really enjoyed about competing against him, besides the fact that we had these good matches and we both learned a lot about our games, I remember he was actually talking to me, and he said that he felt like he got 3 months of training just from the 2 matches that we had because we went tit for tat. And that's something I felt like is true since I was a white belt. I remember going to white belt tournaments and going into a competition, and then after I got done with the competition, I had all these things to work on. And I remember seeing that in other people would compete and they would come back from the competition and they would be changed. I remember one guy years ago, we called him 007 because he had a cool car. 007 goes, competes. He felt kind of soft the week before the competition, goes to the competition, doesn't do great, comes back from the competition the next week, and me and my roommate at the time rolled with him, Chris. Chris and I rolled with him, and we left, and I think we were blue belts at the time. We're driving home, and I was like, talking to Chris, I said, man, did you roll with 00? And he said, yeah, I rolled with him. He felt tough. I was like, yeah. And we were both talking about how tough he felt just from last week. And so again, these competitions a lot of times do that. They change things, and you get better from them much faster. And he was saying that, and I agreed with him completely, because when we had that tit for tat match, and I have a lot of stuff that I need to work on in my game, and which I'm excited about. But you saw the tactical blunder, and you saw what happened where once he had the points, he was able to have control of that match. With a guy like him who doesn't give up points very easy, it's a hard thing to make back. And after the match, one thing that it reminded me of the reason why I quit fighting back in the day. When I used to fight MMA, I never liked the environment. I don't like that trash talking, everybody's trying to be the tough guy type thing. One of the cool things about him, the guy that I competed against, his name's Abreu. I'll put his Instagram down below if you want to check him out. But he said it's like Abraham in Portuguese. But competing against him and all the other dudes that I competed against, they're all like sportsmen, right? We were competing against each other, trying to knock each other out with our tie-ups and trying to choke each other and do everything, right? Launch each other in the air, all that stuff. But after the match was over, it was all good. Me and him were talking, and when I won and beat him in the first match, he congratulated me and wished me luck into the finals. When he beat me in the Open, I did the same thing as well. And again, super, super cool guy. And I love that about it, because usually, not always, but usually jiu-jitsu is like that. I love that about it. I love that ability to go out and compete and get after it. And then, you can be sportsmen afterwards, right? But super cool. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed those matches. Hope you enjoyed seeing kind of the sort of differences between them, and maybe getting some ideas for your own training, your own competitions, whatever. And again, I am going to be doing some breakdowns. There will be one breakdown put into the YouTube membership page, along with some of the behind-the-scenes footage that's not posted on the YouTube page later on this week. We're going to have some other stuff from the competition, a highlight video at some point showing like sort of a mixture of all the matches and all the cool techniques that I hit. Because there was a really cool back take that you guys will see. What I'm really excited about. I've been trying to hit that thing for like a year and a half in competition cleanly. And then also on my Chewjitsu Vault membership that I have, I'm going to have all of my matches broken down with a lot of detail into what was going on. If you guys want to check that out, you can go to the link down below. If not, just keep your eyes on the YouTube page and you'll see some more videos coming from it, from the No Gi Pans 2020. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.